Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Alkem IAS. Welcome to another class of daily newspaper analysis. So, in today's class, we'll be discussing the Hindu newspaper in length and the Indian Express, and also I found an important Indian Express explained today. So, that also we'll be discussing. And thank you all for the great support you have given yesterday. We are back with renewed energy and vigor to help you out for the UPSC mains examination. Okay, so this class will help you for the UPSC mains 2021 because this is the core time of preparing for mains. I hope you know this is the core time to prepare for the newspaper for the mains. You'll be seeing that in this year mains 2021, you'll be having at least 50% of the questions and almost 90% of the current affairs asked in this gap. Okay, from August to December month में ही आपके सारे questions होंगे mains में. So for that, and of course for prelims 2022 and for any other examination, if you're preparing for EPFO interview or for the banking examinations, for banking interviews, for all competitive examinations, this session will be helping you. So before beginning, my name is Teja. I graduated from IIT Kharagpur. I appeared in UPSC mains 4 times. I'm the ex-faculty at Grade Up IAS, which is presently BYJU's prep, and Amida IAS, Unique Shiksha, Vision IAS, and other institutes. So let us begin today's discussion. So the Jammu and Kashmir situation is evolving every day, and yesterday basically, a group called as PAFF, People's Anti-Fascist Front. Not required, you don't have to remember the name, but they have claimed the responsibility for the attack. Okay, so unless you are living under a rock, I hope you know that in Jammu and Kashmir till now around 11 civilians have been killed. Okay, 11 civilians, and all of them were migrants. They have come from other state, so they were killed by this terrorist group. And in retaliation, the army has killed around 13 militants. So that internal security ka chal raha hai issue. I think we'll be launching an entire video on this Jammu Kashmir situation, on the internal security threats and all. Okay, either me or Dr. Rajesh Mohan, All India rank 103 this year in UPSC 2020, he'll be taking that class. Okay, we'll be discussing this at length, but the situation, just know that today एक नाम है, मतलब अभी तक we were just thinking that it's LET or JEM. Actually, this PAFF could be, directly or indirectly linked to the Pakistan terror outfits, but they have claimed responsibility. It is like एक main company है पाकिस्तान में and उन लोगों के startups खोल रहे यहाँ जम्मू कश्मीर में. Anyway, so Kerala flood situation. Amid havoc caused by the torrential rain, the Kerala government has constituted an expert committee to regulate the release of 81 dams. Okay, the water level in Pampa, Maninwala, Akincoil have reached the high levels, and they are planning to dispose of flood water level. Okay, you need a educated and informed decision to regulate the water release, or else it will cause more flood situation, like what happened in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this is going on. Okay, I'm not going in detail for these because they are not very important. Even agar mains mein aap padh rahe ho, you should be focusing on internal security. See, this can be one line in your answer, the PAFF, and Kerala flood situation can be one line in your answer. But what do you need at length? You would be needing the entire internal security, the entire disaster management of floods, and so on. Okay, current affairs is a symbol. And farmers protest hits the coal train movement. So farmers protest chal rahe, farmers movement. This also I think will be having a special video on farmers movements. Okay, next, army trains officers posted along LAC in Tibetology. So just a small trivia sort of news that in the LAC area, our army is training officers regarding the Tibetan culture and preparing them to understand information warfare. So they have started a course on Tibetology in tie-up with Central Institute for Himalayan Cultural Studies in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so this will be a good P2P connect. Next, Delhi reports its first See, this is not important for our exam purpose per se, but if you're staying in Delhi, please be careful and cautious. Okay, the first dengue death for the year has been reported. Okay, as cases surge, city reports the first dengue death. Next, some state government news. The Delhi government has started a tender for new job portal. It's an AI-based, artificial-based job matching portal. And High Court allows medical termination of 24-week pregnancy as a one-off measure. Okay, and wettest October in Delhi since 1960. Why did this happen? We'll be discussing towards the end of the video. Okay, under Indian Express Explained, this is given at length, we'll be discussing that. Government started a campaign for air pollution. All of these are local news. Next, in Meghalaya also there is a farmers movement. See, this is how the offshoots, and you can also mention this in your answer. Okay, Meghalaya governor, he offers to mediate with the farmers. The government should listen to the demands and guarantee MSP. Yes, told. Okay, all local news. I'm just going forward. Okay, Kerala CM chairs high-level meet on rain havoc that is going on, and that's why, as I mentioned you, disaster management, floods become very important this year. Okay, so coming to our editorials. Regarding the flood situation and the southwest monsoon retreats along northern Karnataka, Telangana, Odisha and Bengal and northeastern states in Odisha, it is leaving a trail of destruction. So like what happened in Kerala. So heaviest downpour had actually been reported from West Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, East Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, almost 31 centimeters, and heavy rain in Kerala, Ihora. So Indian monsoon is very important for India, right? That it's a livelihood for hundreds of millions of people. But there are variations in patterns and intensity. Okay, these words have to be there in your answer. And why specifically Kerala? This is how you should be writing. Because Kerala has a vast stretch of Western Ghats. Okay, so there are anomalies in precipitation over the state. In 2018, maybe yahi hua tha. Presently, it has killed 35 people. And the dams are filling up fast. The governor has responded by issuing alerts to several dams, including Idukki, and place plans to release water to avoid a repeat of the flooding witnessed years ago. Okay, as I told you, suddenly you can't release the dam. Okay, in a flood situation, you can't suddenly regulate the water release because it will only exacerbate the situation. So the precarity of living conditions make the annual monsoon a persistent threat, and government should do more for reducing the risk to life and property. So what should the government do? They should nurture the health of rivers. These are the points in your answer. They should nurture the health of rivers, keeping them free from encroachments, protecting integrity of mountain slopes by ending mining, deforestation and incompatible construction. Okay, just see what are the points. Next, it echoes the warnings of Gadgil Committee, Madhav Gadgil Committee on the Western Ghats. Okay, actually every year whenever there is flood situation, ये Madhav Gadgil Committee का नाम आता ही आता है. Okay, because they had recommended for the ecologically sensitive zone along the Western Ghats, so this becomes important. And land is an extremely scarce resource, but expanding the economic activity is certain to cause incalculable losses. One very nice figure they have given. Quarrying area in Kerala, over 7,000 hectares, much of it is in the central districts that were later hit by mudslides. So there's a direct relation between the quarrying area and the mudslides. So the government should be unconscionable to allow the pursuit of short-term profits, should not be unconscionable enough to pursue these short-term profits at the cost of helpless communities. So there should be a more benign development policy which would treat nature as an asset, not an impediment. So they should be properly mapped hazard zones And there is also a similar threat from extreme weather, breaking glaciers and cloudbursts in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. So in sub-pay, we should understand how climate change impacts extreme weather, and the response must be to strengthen the natural defenses. Okay, see, such a nice article. So if you can reproduce this article well, do you need any monthly compilation, okay, by any institute? Do you need that? If you can inculcate a habit of reading the newspaper every day, making notes from this in such a proper way, this is the best. Okay, the आपको जो UPSC के लिए coaching material या monthly compilations are only a faint reflection of these newspaper analysis. So it is just this discipline which will help you crack the UPSC exam. Okay, actually indirectly by some coincidence, the main editorial is also directly or indirectly linked to this. Okay, you can also use this because this year Nobel Prize in Physics किसको मिला था? This is important for the other competitive exams also. By 3 physicists. One is jointly held by Syukuro Manabe and Klaus Hasselmann. For what did they win? For the physical modeling of Earth's climate and quantifying variability and reliably predicting global warming. Okay, this is what they have won. Okay, so extremely important Nobel Prize this year to 3 people. Third one is Giorgio Parisi for the discovery of interplay of disorder and fluctuations in physical systems from atomic to planetary scales. Okay, so the Nobel Prize this year was actually given for someone who has modeled the climate change on Earth and its impact on global warming and the fluctuations in physical systems. So any answer, I mean, if you're talking of any answer of ecology, environment, if you can quote this, imagine what a high-hitting impact it would have on the examiner. Right, and not only for the physics, but even if you see the Nobel Prize in economics, it was given for David Card for proving that rising in minimum wages increases employment levels. Contrary view that most mainstream economists, they believe higher wages increases firm costs and unemployment aayega. Instead of that, they have proved that if you increase the wages, actually employment levels would increase. Rise in minimum wages, they increase the employment levels. And other half has gone to 2 more scientists, Angrist and Imbens, for improving economists' tools for understanding complex systems. So the author means to say that physics and economics dono, they were given for modeling this complex systems. And he has gone at length to talk of the modeling systems, not very important for us. You should be knowing kiske liye mila dono ko. Okay, physics was given for the physical modeling of Earth's climate. Economics was given for developing a model, complex models for the complex systems, and ultimately proving that minimum wages increase the employment levels. Right? And about climate change, again at the end, the author is saying that Western scientific methods have ethical weakness. Okay, because Western methods में यही है, इतने सालों से हम even in economics books we study that if the wages rise, the firms cut costs and unemployment rises. So there is an ethical angle involved that can you factor in unemployment just like that? But now the dignity of human beings is squeezed to convert humans into, see, normally under Western methods, the dignity of human beings, it's squeezed to convert humans into quantities to fit economists and mathematical equations. That is what we have been doing. So now we need that ethical understanding. And he has quoted Limits of Thought by David Bohm, who was also nominated for Nobel Prize, and Jiddu Krishnamurti, an Indian philosopher. So this last paragraph is golden if you ask me. It's brilliant. What he has written is, scientific models of climate as physical system, only in which an economist can determine a price of carbon that will make the world alright again, is fundamentally flawed. Okay. In fact, Bohm said that the end of science means the coming of Western civilization in its own time, in its own way, into a higher dimension of human experience. Okay, so those higher dimensions include humility within the world which has created human mind and which human mind cannot logically explain. So what do we need? We need the Eastern philosophical way to save the world from scientific apocalypse. Okay, essay के लिए कहीं पे भी you can use this. If some of you have seen the Squid Game, Netflix का web series जो अभी चल रहा है ना Squid Game, उसका just यही है this paragraph. Squid Game में how capitalism or the Western methods have taken over the unethical thinking and how we need to get back to the human experience. Okay. In fact, the whole global discourse is on that these days. Okay, next editorial is actually a small editorial. I didn't find much meat in this. So the rebound in investments past pre-pandemic levels should be nurtured. Greenfield hopes. So because the second wave has ebbed now, and we are bouncing back in terms of economic indicators. So even though enhanced central government infrastructure is partially responsible for this, the main reason is we have seen fresh investments higher than pre-COVID year. So if this growth rate will be sustained or not, or the PLI scheme, if it can spur more investment, all of this we may or may not be sure. In fact, critics call it a retro-style import substitution. Okay, giving a push to our domestic manufacturing. PLI, it is like import substitution. But initial evidence suggests that investors have been converted. So for once, Hindus actually praising the government efforts. The PLI scheme, of 13 sectors of PLI scheme which was announced, 9 have been notified so far and others are picking up destination. Similarly, the Air India to Tata Group, the outright sale of public sector firm in almost 2 decades. So all of this say ho raha hai. And with its efforts to repair some of the damage to long bleeding telecom sector and retrospective cases of tax terrorism, government is making the right noises. Okay. So आगे क्या करना है? Where capital is influenced by environmental, social and government standards, the factors of rule of law. Similarly, not having heavy-handed regulations for e-commerce, indulging markets of EU, US, UK and India, ये सब को भी करना है government. Okay, another editorial was on this A.Q. Khan, who has recently expired. Okay, he was the nuclear proliferator. Because of COVID-19, he died basically. He was allegedly smuggling this nuclear bomb to other Iran, Libya and North Korea, so he died. Not important for us. If you are interested in the global politics, you can read it. Okay, next is shadow foreign policy. Okay, shadow foreign policy. Actually, this also I felt it's a very imaginative article. Like, in India, for example, we have the, India, we don't have something called a shadow cabinet. What is shadow cabinet? Just like how we have the Prime Minister, the Minister of Home, Minister of Defense, External Affairs. Opposition में भी एक ऐसा shadow cabinet होता है. Okay, India does not have a tradition of shadow cabinets lurking behind the government of power. Right? In fact, the opposition challenges the policies, but they provide no alternative. So यही होता है इंडिया में. So in that sense, India should have something called a shadow foreign policy. Okay, shadow foreign policy. What is it? It's a document given by Center for Policy Research in the nature of alternative to India's foreign and defense policies. It's called India's Path to Power in a World Adrift. Okay, so very futuristic article. I don't think they'll be asking a question on shadow foreign policy, है ना? पूछेंगे तो foreign policy में, that also not in depth unless your option is PSIR. So I would say if your option is PSIR, you can read this article. Okay, not important for us on a GS point of view. Basically saying, जो भी हमारा foreign policy है, उसका shadow, what we can do, he has told in the article. है ना, Article 370 में क्या कर सकते हैं, West को क्या कर सकते हैं. So completely alternative foreign policy is given. In fact, I would advise you, if your option is not PSIR, don't read this article. You'll get confused. क्योंकि इसमें हमारा foreign policy का opposite दिया है. Okay, and similarly another article, this is again written by Manish Tiwari of INC, Indian National Congress. He's a lawyer, MP. Okay, he has talked about India needs a caste count. So Constituent Assembly, when it drafted the constitution, it wanted to transform into a modern state, right? It wanted to give justice, equality of status and opportunity. So that's why we have the Article 17, 23, 24. Okay, all our fundamental rights we have. And most important is getting to the point is there are reservations for SCs, STs, Anglo-Indians. It was supposed to end actually 10 years after commencement of Constitution. And Article 335 provides for reservations for SCs and STs in public employment. Okay, so they give that. But in 1990, another step was taken under VP Singh, where the Mandal Commission ke basis pe they have given 27% reservation for OBCs. So Indira Sawhney case, I hope you know all this. This is there in all our static books. So here in this article, he is demanding for caste census. Okay, because Indira Sawhney case mein kya tha, you can have reservations maximum until 50%. But the EWS had breached that 50%. So now the OBCs jo hai, their figure could be higher than 50%. So the 50% cap on reservation would be redundant. So if we can have a caste census, we can determine exactly if we can have the reservation or not. But on the same way, he is also saying that where would that leave merit? Nations are built on social inclusion and meritocracies. So UPA government ne kuch kiya, he has praised the Congress and UPA government, and NDA government is not doing that, he is saying. So over time, what has been forgotten is the original dream of transforming India into egalitarian and classless society. Reservations are good, but still we should have a new paradigm for affirmative action, which is required to fulfill the visions of independent India, given that economic stimuli has not been brought about with societal integration. Okay, so once it is known what economic and social status of every caste group is, a new intervention strategy can then be fashioned. Only then we can be egalitarian. Okay. So GHI we have discussed at length over the last few days. 101 rank आया हमारा 94 rank से. It has been on a downtrend, but of course our Indian government has rejected it. Okay, because they have told that it's like an opinion poll. It's like an opinion poll. You're not correlating it with the ground realities. And one article about livestock breeding. Okay, so livestock breeding in India is largely unorganized. So there have been gaps in forward and backward integration across the value chain. Okay, so it's impacting the quality of livestock. Approximately 200 million farmers are involved in the livestock farming. So unke liye what did we do? We have launched the Rashtriya Gokul Mission in 2014 to improve the genetic upgradation of bovine population with artificial insemination, sex-sorted semen, in vitro fertilization and so on. And later revised version of Rashtriya Gokul Mission and National Livestock Mission, it proposes to bring focus on entrepreneurship development. Okay, in breed improvement in cattle, buffalo, poultry, sheep, goat and so on. Farmer producer organizations, farmer producer cooperatives, Section 8 companies for entrepreneurship development, yes sir. So the breed multiplication farm component of Rashtriya Gokul Mission, it is going to provide a capital of 200 lakh by setting up breeding farm with at least 200 milch cows, buffaloes using latest breeding technology. So in sabse bhala hi hoga, and we are also incentivizing breed multiplication, jisse employment bhi hoga, employment of 1 lakh farmers. Okay, you won't get a complete entire question on livestock breeding, but agriculture ke broad overview mein you should definitely write this. Okay, it's a nice article. The grassroots initiatives like web applications of eGopala, they give real-time information to livestock farmers. And poultry entrepreneurship, which we discussed under NLM, it has a capital subsidy of 25 lakh with capacity to rear 1,000 chicks. So an entrepreneur, after launching the business, he can get a break even in 18 months. Okay, and in context of sheep and goat entrepreneurship, there is a provision of capital subsidy of 50% up to 50 lakh. And for piggery, NLM has provided 50% capital subsidy up to 30 lakh. Okay, so the revised scheme of NLM coupled with Rashtriya Gokul Mission and Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund, it can dramatically enhance the productivity and traceability. Okay, it's actually the secretary of Ministry of Animal Husbandry and Dairying. You can actually write in your answers according to Atul Chaturvedi these figures. Okay, so very nicely in the article, firstly he has talked about Rashtriya Gokul Mission, uska broad area. Next about bovine, okay, about the cows. Similarly about poultry, you know. Next sheep and goat entrepreneurship and piggery. Sare ki he has given you the figures. Okay. Next, our foreign minister, he has reached Israel, and external affairs minister S. Jaishankar has rekindled eternal flame at Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum in Jerusalem. Okay, so Jaishankar and Israeli counterpart Mr. Yair Lapid, they have met on Monday. So they have held a virtual quadrilateral meeting with US and UAE. Okay, this is not our quad, this is another one where UAE is involved. Why is UAE involved? Because there was the Abraham's Accord last year. Abraham's Accord was signed between UAE and Israel for diplomatic relations. So all these four countries they have met, and they have discussed about COVID-19 pandemic, and this is the 30th year, okay, of India-Israeli partnership. So FTA talks would begin and it would be concluded by 2022. And Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that FTA would be completed, but there are some lapses, so we'll focus on that. And Israel has also joined our ISA. Sorry, it will join our ISA in COP26 of Glasgow. Okay, बाकी सारे normal चीज़ें. Next, there's some disproportionate assets case in Chennai. Okay, against C. Vijay Bhaskar. Okay, moving ahead. So J&K killings, they have also influenced Bihar, क्योंकि वो बिहार के people मारे गए थे, the migrant workers there, right? So it's a double whammy because अभी employment नहीं होगा, and अगर employment होगा तो you'll be killed in Jammu Kashmir. Okay. And yesterday another lawyer was shot dead in UP, in the Lucknow High Court. Okay, one small thing is, judiciary should not act as a super legislature. Okay, distressed government has taken leave from President Roosevelt, saying that judiciary shouldn't be like super legislature by entertaining challenge to Tribunal Reforms Act by the Rajya Sabha member Jairam Ramesh. So Jairam Ramesh is actually from INC, but they have taken up this Tribunal Reforms Act. The government has taken up. So the union government in affidavit said it was confused why judiciary thinks that law by parliament and implemented by executive is attack on judicial independence. Okay, so some of the provisions of Act under challenge include the reduction of tenure of chairpersons of the key tribunals. The Act also mandates minimum age of appointment for 50 years. So this new law said appointments committee would preferably make the appointments with the search cum selection committee. Okay, so ये law में अभी आने वाले हैं. Okay, the challenge to the Tribunal Reforms Act, and Supreme Court would maybe squash it. So that's why the government is saying that the law said that recommendations of SC, the search cum selection committee, to ACC should be of single name. And government said it is the exclusive right of parliament and executive to frame policy and execute it. So the affidavit said it is significant that separation of powers entrusts the parliament and executive to its work. And how can the duration of tenure of chairperson or members affect independence of judiciary? Okay, so ये भी चल रहा है, Tribunal Reforms Act का भी between Parliament and Supreme Court there are some issues. Next we have vaccine campaigns lags despite pile of stocks. Okay, so we are not reaching the daily, from the peak of 2.5 crore, we are not having adequate vaccination. ठीक है, कोवैक्सिन का नॉड अभी भी पूरा नहीं मिल रहा है ऑन अ ग्लोबल लेवल. नेक्स्ट, one important thing from art and culture point of view, Pushkarnagar connect to Sri Lanka. Okay, when PM Narendra Modi declares open the Pushkarnagar International Airport in Uttar Pradesh, a lot of Sri Lankan contingent would also be coming. 20th kal he'll be opening the Pushkarnagar International Airport. So Sri Lankan delegation is coming. Okay, PM Mahindra's son would be coming. So why are they coming actually? Because the airport is expected to provide seamless connectivity from Sri Lanka, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, China, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore and so on. It is a center of Buddhist circuit. Okay, that's why हमें Buddhism, Jainism पे इतने questions आते हैं exam. Because on an international level, it's very important for us. So this Buddhist circuit, it consists of Lumbini, Sarnath and Gaya, and Buddhists consider Kushinagar a sacred site. Why? Because Buddha had attained his Mahaparinirvana or salvation there. In fact, the inaugural flight at airport from Colombo carrying 125 delegation will land from Colombo. Okay, Colombo se hi it will come. And many artists' works would be showcased near Colombo. Okay, one of the murals depict Arahat Bhikkhu Mahinda, son of Ashoka, delivering the message of the Buddha to Devam Priyadasa of Sri Lanka. Okay, actually आप पढ़ते हो Mahindra, in ancient history we study of this, and one shows the arrival of Theri Bhikkhuni Sangamitta, the daughter in Sri Lanka, and she actually brings the sapling of the sacred Bodhi tree. Okay, Mahindra and Sangamitta पढ़ते हो ancient history. So they are coming, and it's a cultural diplomacy, because of late, few years back, not of late, a few years back, the LTT ke clashes there with the southern section of Sri Lanka, and it was thought that India had sided with Tamils. So in the decade after civil war, which coincides with China's growing influence, New Delhi seems keen on recasting image as friend and using religious and cultural diplomacy. Covishield vaccine also we had sent, and we had sent a tweet on the blessed Poya day for the Buddhists. So all this is going on. Okay. Next, part-time employees not entitled to regularization. The Supreme Court had held part-time employees are not entitled to seek regularization as they are not working against any sanctioned post in government. So a permanency जो होता है, that cannot be granted to the part-time employees. That is what they've given. Small news. ASI has told that there's a panel to study Indian culture. It still did not give its report. 2016 say they are not giving the report. Okay. And coming to international news, so China denies testing of hypersonic missile. Yesterday, which we have studied, the hypersonic missile Long March, that they have not tested, it seems. Okay, it was actually reported in Financial Times, London-based Financial Times, that China has carried out nuclear-capable hypersonic missile. It had circled around the globe before speeding towards target. But China is telling that no, we did not do anything. Okay, it's hypersonic, greater than 5 times the speed of sound. It's Long March rocket. Okay, so but they have denied it. US is watching this Beijing's weapon development program. Colin Powell, the US Secretary of State, first black US Secretary of State, died yesterday. Next, Russia has shut its mission to NATO. So a lot of international news for the PSIR people. Okay, not important from a GS point of view. Okay, yesterday we were reading that activists have tried to disrupt Beijing Olympic event. Who are these activists? They are the Tibetans. Okay, they have unfurled a Tibetan flag and banners saying that no genocide at the games. Okay, this year 2022 Winter Olympics will be held at Beijing. So in Greece they are protesting against it. Okay, and last week economic activity has resurged to the post-COVID peak. Okay, this is important. The Nomura Indian Business Resumption Index signaled with most indicators showing improvements even as power demand declined. Okay, so pre-pandemic levels Jyota, last week we have finally met. Mobility rose sharply. Labor force participation rate has come to 41%. Power demand has slid 1.7%. And economics, but they have shown this concern about supply side risk, mainly coal and power situation. Actually, coal and power crisis के भी एक video हम डालेंगे. Okay, we'll make a special video on that. Even as demand is recovering, supply bottlenecks have emerged as bigger constraint. Okay, coal shortages are resulting in short disruption to non-power customers, while chip shortages have hurt passenger vehicles. Okay, so ये सब चल रहा है. And private industrial investments have to bounce. There's a new cycle will depend on implementation of government policy. Okay, it is given by a private report. Crystals are not very important for us. And because of high fuel prices, petrol, diesel के prices बढ़ रहे, so CNG vehicles are increasing. Okay, 7.4 to 14% they are increasing. Indian startups have raised $11 billion. Coal costs weigh down Ultratech. So coal ke impact you can see even on Ultratech cement. Similarly, China's economy stumbles on power crunch. Okay, so all of this we have. Under sports, not great important news. World Cup के warm-ups चल रहे हैं. T20 World Cup warm-ups. So T20 World Cups के बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ना है. When it comes, you should be reading about it. They can ask next year in prelims. Okay, so that's our news from Hindu today. Now let us see Indian Express editorials, important editorials in explain page. So we have been studying that National Security Advisors meet has happened. Okay, in a rare and welcome initiative. One second. Delhi has invited national security advisors after the withdrawal of the US forces and Taliban's power in Kabul. You have been studying in the last few days. So according to reports, India has invited national security advisors of Pakistan, Iran, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, China and Russia to join consultations. Okay, Turkmenistan, which shares a border, it did not join. Okay, it has strict neutrality. In fact, in your our SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in that also there is no Turkmenistan. So they didn't attend, but all others have attended. Okay, Pakistan, Iran, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, China, Russia, all Afghanistan ke bordering states have attended. Okay, but it is not clear how many of these countries will participate, which is scheduled in the first half of November. I mean, we have invited, we don't know how many would be attending. Mainly, it's the problems about Pakistan. So, Delhi waits a formal response for this. Delhi appears ready to talk beyond the narrow bilateral approach to Afghanistan. Okay, after the Afghanistan ouster of Taliban from power in 2001, Delhi tended to be lone ranger in Afghanistan. Okay, actually initially many people don't know that we were focusing on bilateral ties with Kabul. But as 2000s mein Taliban's gained ground, mainly because of support from Pakistan, Delhi engaged in bilateral diplomatic consultations, but we never had a proper dialogue with Taliban. But now our stakes have gone up, so it has its weight in regional affairs. So this is a good moment to start active regional diplomacy. So the initiative also opens door for consultation with Pakistan. In the past, even when India and Pakistan were talking to each other, Islamabad refused to discuss Afghanistan with Delhi. So that was their main agenda of keeping India out of Afghanistan. And after the 2019 Jammu Kashmir constitutional changes, Pakistan had made it conditional on Delhi walking back. Okay, मतलब आप Jammu Kashmir पे, if you go back on Jammu Kashmir, only then we will talk, they have told. So it is hard that they will accept India's invitation. देखना पड़ेगा नवंबर में क्या होगा. But main Pakistan successes, reinstalling Taliban in power looks difficult to sustain. Because 2 months after taking Kabul, Taliban is yet to gain diplomatic recognition from any country. Okay, no country in the world. In fact, even Pakistan has not given diplomatic recognition for Taliban. Okay, there is international financial and political pressures on Islamabad to nudge Taliban towards more reasonable policies. So यहाँ आने से we can sort out the contentious issues, they have told. Okay, and obviously NSA would be held by our Ajit Doval ji, so it can go well with us. Next, daily ball-to-ball commentary type article they have given about corporate India and how it's rising. Okay, pre-pandemic levels pe how it's rising, GST way se how good things are happening, they have told. And Rahul Dravid, what he can do for Indian cricket, they have given. Okay. Next, one more ideas page. C. Raja Mohan has told that we should have a new quad in West Asia. This is also mainly for PSAR, if you ask me, because now who has met? We have seen in Israel, India, Israel, UAE and US have met. You know? So we can have a new sort of quad here. What is our original quad? Our original quad is US. What is original quad? US, Japan, India, Australia, right? This is our normal quad. So that is our quad for the Indo-Pacific area. But now we should have a quad in West Asia, okay, with these 4 countries. So very futuristic article. The 4-way, I mean in GS also you can write maybe one line that C. Raja Mohan, you don't even have to take the name of C. Raja Mohan, you can mention that we can have a quad-like approach in Middle East. Okay, so for GS I wouldn't suggest you going through the lengths of this article because very futuristic article about Abraham Accord. There are some critics for the Abraham Accord, but we should give respect to the Abraham Accord. And we should have the 2-state solution according to Joe Biden. And this Middle Eastern quad, it will focus on non-military issues like trade, energy, environment. You know, ये सब हो सकता है, he has told according to him. Okay, for GS, not advisable. Okay, this is important. This is by Mr. Madan Sabnavis. He is an independent economist. So he has given about the Coal India crisis. Okay, every day we are seeing actually editorial in this very space about Coal India crisis. So he is saying that this Coal India crisis is bringing a sense of deja vu. Because this is what happens whenever we have shortage of onions. Okay, the difference is the shortage of farm products is due to crop failure, but the reasons for coal shortage are human-made. India has world's 5th largest coal reserves. Theoretically, there is no physical shortage as we can mine as much as we want. But Coal India must invest more money in coal production. During the monsoon season, rains do not stop the mining process, but can also, they do not just stop the mining process, but can also affect coal stocks. Okay, so he has given, the parallels between agriculture mein hame kya hoga and coal mein kya hoga. So they maintain 30 days inventory, but now it has come only to 3 days. So they definitely lead to outages. Several states, they say that they are running out of coal. So what can we do? On the supply side, because of low investment, coal cannot be mined. So there is increase in supply should be gradual. So just like how we import sugar and onion, we should import more coal. But by importing coal, what are the challenges? Producers should have sprung into action when stocks were getting depleted. Now government is asking that they should meet 10% of requirement through imports. And this we have discussed every day, right? That global coal crisis the coal crisis that is because of the global scenario which is happening. For example, during the first lockdown, mines were closed. They were operating with limited capacity. Now there is a resurgence in demand. International price has gone up by 40%. China is a major producer and consumer. They have faced this problem. So that's why they have tried to save coal for the future. They have imposed restriction on mining to go green. So all this has happened. And he's saying that, ideology plays a big role because in India, coal imports have been traditionally very high. And under Atmanirbharta, government is focused on making self-reliant. So coal dependency came down over time, but the problem is there was also low phase of economic growth. China में भी यही हुआ था. So ideally, power companies should import coal, but by that the cost of power production would increase. And it is often asked that government can keep raising the price of petrol and diesel when crude oil prices go up. But power can we do that? No, we can't do that so easily because petrol, diesel pay, if you increase price, everyone may not use vehicles, but here power, everyone would be using that. And distribution companies have been running losses due to inability to cut the transmission losses. So what could be the impact on economy if crisis gets prolonged? Obviously, the economy, we have discussed it's showing signs of recovery. In the last week, we have seen the pre-pandemic levels. So any disruption power supply can push back this process. So सारे में है, agriculture, industry, households, all of this में the challenges are important. Okay, for example, in agriculture, Rabi sowing is about to start and power is required to drive the sowing efforts. And in industry, obviously, power requires uninterrupted supplies. A lot of business is being conducted from home after pandemic, so households पे भी impact पड़ेगा. So that's why the coal shortage problem is very seriously, it should be taken very serious because it affects power supply, which is backbone of all economic activity. There is a lot of talk on reducing carbon imprint, using less coal, shifting to renewables. But all stakeholders, center, states, miners, power generation, they must all work together. And nation is expected to grow more than 8% next few years. For that, we need to have strong power generation. Okay, actually, this is a very interesting sort of article, if you ask me, about how he has linked agriculture and coal. मतलब उन दोनों में how he has drawn parallels. Okay, for the trivial point of view, but since in GS we have the generic sort of questions, you don't have to go at that length. Okay, now we shall see the explained page of Indian Express. Today I found an important article from explained page. Why October has been so rainy. Okay, for a geography point of view, you can expect a question from this. So monsoon to khatam ho gaya. Monsoon has been finished over but several parts of the country that are still receiving rainfall. If you are staying in Delhi, or if you are seeing the situation in Kerala and Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, we are seeing a lot of October rainfall. Delhi, for example, it has had the wettest 24-hour period in several decades. Okay, a lot of flooding situation in Old Rajendra Nagar was also seen. So generally, rain in October is not very unusual. October is actually the month for transition where southwest monsoon withdraw. But the main thing is western disturbances, which begin to have significant interference in local weather over the extreme northern parts of India, they commonly cause rainfall or snowfall. In fact, in the last week, Ladakh, Kashmir, Uttarakhand, maybe we have seen the first snowfall. Last week, 2 pressure systems were active simultaneously over Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. So, iski wajah se there is a huge surge in rainfall. Okay, the 4-month southwest monsoon season, it retreats during this phase. And during this phase, it causes thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. And iske karan, and also because of the western disturbances, this situation has risen. That is what this article is saying. As there is delay in southwest monsoon, good rainfall has continued in Odisha. and normally by mid-October the monsoon winds reverse their direction from southwest to northeast. So even though easterlies are beginning to replace the westerlies, the easterlies are yet to strengthen. That's why we are having this. Okay, so gist of article यही है, western disturbances and this retreat of southwest monsoon, but easterlies are not getting so strong. Okay, and also